So this is the first session on Azure DevSecOps. Okay, so we'll start with cloud. We'll understand Azure cloud first. So before I start with the cloud topic, I want you guys to sign in. If you have not signed in to portal, make sure to sign in on this portal. That's portal.azure.com. Nothing but this is Azure Cloud, guys. Okay, so in order to sign in, even I myself I'm using free tier right now. So the reason I'm using free tier because there are multiple services which you will not have any restriction as pay as you go, but in free tier you will definitely have those restrictions. So in order to have the same experience, I'm using free tier. Okay, I want you guys to go and sign in. This is a documentation. If you guys have not signed in, I'll share this documentation with you all. I'll share the signing process, how the signing happens, and I'll share how the subscription or free tier subscription is created. In case if you are already using this account, guys, if you don't have a free tier, then this pay as you go is totally fine. The services which we will be launching, creating will be very minimalistic. It will not charge you a lot, very minimal, around $2 to $3 in a month. That is the service type what we will be using. So even if you use pay as you go, it's of no harm because this free tier is hardly for only for 1 month. Okay, and this course which we are doing, it's more than 60 plus days. So this free tier will not work throughout this course. So yeah, initially you can start with free tier, later we can switch back to pay as you go. Okay, pay as you go, that subscription talks about whatever services you use, based on those services you'll get charged, and the services which we will be using, that comes under free tier. The VMs which we'll be using, that's very minimalistic, and the storage account, that's everything comes under free tier. So we are not using anything that will cost you more. But you need to keep one thing in mind: as soon as you're done with your practice, delete all your services. Okay, make sure to delete everything, delete all your services once you're done with your practice. So that is what I'll show you. As soon as we are done, I'll be deleting things. So when I show you the creation, at the same time I'll show you how to delete also. Even though when we go to the pipeline section using ARM, when we are deploying things, then at the same time I'll show you how do we delete it once the changes are deployed. Not directly in the portal, but through pipelines. Okay. Now for now, this is the first session. So there are multiple services what we are talking about in this course. So in this first session, we'll be talking about what exactly is cloud. That is, we need to understand what is cloud. Very basic we are going, guys. So that is what my style is. I start with very basic and eventually we'll talk about the advanced topic. We'll talk about how this ASG energy combination work, what is NAT gateway, what is VNetting, and how do we create private endpoints. So these are the advanced topics we'll go, but we'll start from very basic, understanding basic of cloud. What is the shared services with data centers and your infra as a code and all this. Then we'll talk about what is virtual network. Then we'll talk, if time permits, we'll talk about NSGs today. Okay, these are the three topics which we try to cover today. Okay, so once you're signed in, the second question is what exactly are we doing? What is cloud? What is this AWS? What is this Azure? What exactly they are doing? So that is something we need to understand. So we need to understand a very important concept in cloud. Let's go to a PPT. Don't worry guys about don't share your email IDs because it will be shared with the Valaxy team itself. They will give you an access to their platform where all these documents and these notes, whatever I show, everything will be uploaded on that platform, and you guys will be giving login credential through which you can just log into that platform and you can download all the documentation from there. So no personal email ID is needed, guys. So please don't share it. In Azure Cloud, what exactly? So in this next 2 weeks, so in the next 2 weeks, we'll focus on cloud services, guys. Okay. So what are the objectives? We'll focus on virtual machine. We'll focus on virtual networking. we'll focus on Active Directory, we'll focus on storage account, and there are other services such as Key Vault, app services, Kubernetes services. This is something we'll focus on. Okay, so the first topic, what exactly is cloud? Okay, very important concept of cloud. These are the very important concept of cloud: SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, and on-prem. Now, SaaS, we all know this is nothing but it's a software as a service. Okay. What exactly it happens in the software as a service? It's a platform involves software that is available via third party over the internet. Let's understand this in a very layman term. What exactly is SaaS? So SaaS is where a provider sells access to their application software and databases. So there is a provider who is selling access. They have created an application, their own application. Now they are selling the access of the application to you, with the database access, everything they are giving to you upfront. So what are the typical example of SaaS? Gmail. You're using Gmail, correct? Are you doing anything on the Gmail? You got your mail server ready, you got everything ready, you got the inbox, you just sign in, you get an email ID, and you are ready to go. Salesforce. The Salesforce, there are so many companies, they're using Salesforce, they're customizing Salesforce based on their requirement and they're using it. What exactly Salesforce is? This is already an application created by someone. This is already a database and everything, they have it, and they are just what they're doing, they're sharing those things with you. The user management, in some SaaS service that you get some user management also, but not that core. The user management and everything is managed by the company itself. Okay, so this is what SaaS platform is all about. So SaaS platform involves software that is available via third party over the internet. So what exactly SaaS customers are? SaaS customers are end users who typically access the software through a web browser or any client program which is installed on your local system. So SaaS is nothing but it's a software as a service wherein you have all the pre-built software ready to use, which you just directly use it. Again, it's a cloud platform. When you use Gmail, do you set up Gmail on your local? Do you set up a mail server? No. The Gmail has its servers and everything already set up by Google. The only thing you do, you go onto the web browser, you log into the Gmail, sign in, and you're ready to go. You have the Gmail access now. Same, that is what SaaS is all about. The other part is PaaS. PaaS stands for platform as a service. These are the very important concept of cloud, guys. You need to understand this well first before we jump into and start using the services. So PaaS is a sales model in which the customer buys virtual access to their servers and infrastructure they need. So in PaaS, what they do, well, it's like a sales model wherein you go and buy virtual access to your servers. You go and take access to the servers, and then you design and deploy your app on it. So in PaaS, provider manages the underlying cloud platform. Okay. So in PaaS is basically focusing on primarily on hardware and software tools available over the internet. So you got the hardware ready, you got everything ready. You just have to get your code and you need to install on top of it. So you just buy the accesses from the provider. Okay, this is again a sales model wherein the customer, we are the customer, guys. When we use the service, we are the customer. We go and access by the virtual access of the servers. A very good example of Heroku, AWS Elastic Beanstalk, and in Azure App Services. So you have everything, your platform ready, you have everything. What you do, you simply go and buy those services from cloud, and you just go and install your application on top of it. In Google, if you want, Google App Engines, Azure App Services, AWS Elastic Beanstalk, and all these are PaaS example, guys. So PaaS focuses on primarily on hardware and software tools available over the internet. So simply go and access those services and you start deploying and designing your application on top of it. infra as a code, it's a traditional way, infra as a service, it's a traditional way how we use cloud. So infra as a service provider sells access to virtualized resources, okay, including servers, networks, storage, and all this they provide. So it's a typical example of cloud, wherein you just get, for example, you just get your VMs, bare metal VMs, wherein you install the VMs and then you set up everything by yourself on top of it. And you have 85% control of managing the entire VMS up, up with you. The hardware management, it's still not there with us. It's still managed by the provider. But yeah, 85 to 90%, you will be managing the entire resources in infra as a service. So infra as a service works primarily with cloud-based and pay-as-you-go service such as storage, networking, and virtualization. Very classic example of infra as a service will be AWS, Azure, GCP, Blue Ocean. These are the classic example of infra as a service, wherein provider will sell access to virtualized resources. Last but not the least, on-prem. On-prem is basically, it's a data center. What exactly is a data center first? Wherein you have your own location, you have got your own networking, you got your own storage, you got your own power supply, you got your own cooling system, you got your own devices such as your compute, memory, everything you set up by yourself. You take care by yourself. Your networking devices such as your firewall, your switches, everything you take care by yourself. That is on-prem. So on-prem software is installed and runs on computer on premises of the person or organization using the software. So this is on-prem. This is wherein you manage everything by yourself. Local data center. So this is completely, when you use on-prem, your responsibility is completely on you. You will be managing the entire thing. Now, after understanding this, I know many people will have difficult understanding what exactly these topics are. Let's understand the responsibility model. When you understand this responsibility model, you understand the difference between SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, and on-prem. Now, if you see at the top, we got the responsibilities, and we got all the four models: SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, and on-prem. And this is how the responsibility is divided. Now, if I take an example of on-prem, okay, in on-prem, physical data center, physical network, and physical host, and operating system. If you see, everything is a responsibility of a customer. At the bottom, if you see, the light blue is Microsoft, the dark blue is customer, that is we, and if you see the combination, that is shared. Now, if you see the on-prem, the complete hardware part and the hosting part is completely managed by the customer. Wherein if you go to any other model, whether it is infra as a service or PaaS or SaaS, that is completely managed by Microsoft, or in case it is cloud providers. If I'm talking about Salesforce will not give access to this. They have their own hardware, they have their own storage, they have their own cloud services. So you'll not have access to those. Okay. Same goes with operating system. In operating system, if it's on-prem, that will be managed by you. If it infra as a service, that will again managed by you, because what exactly you're buying in infra as a service, you're buying the virtual machine from the cloud providers. Correct. On that virtual machine, you'll be selecting your own operating system. You'll be installing your own operating system. You will be managing, updating, patching, securing. All this will be done by you. So that is the reason this is again not a shared service. This is customer will be managing it. Okay. Wherein PaaS, if you talk about Azure Web App, so Azure Web App is all pre-installed. Like if you want to deploy an app Java application, so you'll find Java install on it, you will find Tomcat install on it. So all these additional software and OS is completely managed by the cloud providers. You have no access to it. You cannot go and change it, guys. Okay. So again, if you see, there's no involvement for customer. And definitely in SaaS, there's no involvement. This is completely managed by the providers. In Gmail, you will just have access to the front end. What's happening in the back end, you'll not even come to know. That kind of SaaS service we are talking about. Now, if you talk about application in SaaS, as I said, Gmail, typical example of Gmail, you will not have any access to it. In PaaS, you may get partial access, like give an example of Salesforce, wherein you can, there is a version wherein you can customize also. Okay. But in talk about infra as a service, then you need to install that application of yours, because you will just get the platform. It will be a blank platform wherein you need to start installing things. On-prem, there's no question, it's completely managed by us. Identity and directory infrastructure, or accounts and identity. So identity is like, I'm talking about user management, group management, all these. So in SaaS, you may get partial access, like if you go with Gmail enterprise version, so you may get access to manage your own users. You may get access to manage creating users, giving access to users. So partial access in enterprise version, guys. In normal day-to-day life, the Gmail which you use, you'll not get those. You will just manage your own user ID, wherein you can reset your password and things like that. And PaaS, infra as a service, and on-prem, this is completely by the customer. Same goes in the top end, wherein you talk about managing your application, managing the devices which is connected to the application. All these are front end work. So this is completely managed by the customers. So this is how the responsibility models in cloud works. Okay. So when you start working on cloud, these are the things which you will be using. Mostly you'll be using SaaS, PaaS, and infra as a service. These are the three models you'll come across a lot. Now, if I take an example, in this course, we'll be using virtual machine. So that is an example of IaaS. Then we'll be using storage account. We'll be using SQL servers. That will be an example of PaaS. You will be using SaaS, the Azure AD and the Gmail and all which you use. That is a typical example of SaaS. So mix, like when you go and start working on cloud, there's a mix of cloud concepts which you will be using. But you need to be very aware, like suppose if you're using an app service, so you need to very aware that the complete infrastructure, the complete software is completely managed by Microsoft. The only thing you can do the most is get your code, deploy it on it, and if you need, you can go and access the logs if something fails. Nothing much you can do. If there's some hardware failure in the backdrop, you cannot do anything in it. And if you talk about infra as a service, this is a virtual machine and everything will be created for you. You need to manage the networking, you need to manage the VMs, you need to manage the compute. Everything will be managed. And if there is a patching activity needs to be done at the OS level, you need to go and do that for you. So this is a complete responsibility of the client customer who is using the service. Okay, so keep this security model and this responsibility model in mind before we jump on and understand what exactly is cloud first, guys. Even though we have understood this model, what exactly is cloud, this is something we'll need to understand first. Okay, anyone has any questions, any doubt till here? Anyone who is learning cloud for the very first time, uh, have not worked on cloud and learning cloud for the very first time? Anyone? No one, guys? Everyone knows cloud?
Yeah, I'm first time to join
Okay,
cloud. I don't have any experience on cloud.
okay, no problem. It's good. Okay, so let's begin with very simple diagram and let's understand cloud concept, guys. So guys who are already experienced and who know cloud concept, so guys, this could be a just a revision for you guys. Okay, so we'll have to keep in mind that we have people around and we'll be starting from very scratch, and eventually, as I said, we'll be moving to the advanced topics. So yeah, initial, if you are already familiar with this cloud concept, so it's a revision for you guys. Okay. Okay, what do I mean by cloud? Is it something, when we say cloud, is it something that they have created their data center in cloud? No, this is just a naming convention given. There is no data center in cloud. Yeah, in future they may come up and they start Google and all. They start creating data center in cloud, also in actual cloud. But right now there's nothing as such concept, guys. Okay, cloud is nothing but this is a location. Okay, guys, kindly put yourself on mute. Okay, so this is a location. That location is nothing but it is called as data center. The location which you get, that is nothing but it is called as data center. So they have purchased, just for example, if you want to create a cloud service for yourself, like imagine you start to you thought that no, I want my own cloud service. So what all things you need? Firstly, you need a location wherein you can set up a center for yourself. Once you have your location ready, you will have your racks installed. What exactly is a rack? The rack is nothing but a boxes which will hold your devices. So this is how you, if you visit any data center, this is how it looks like. And in this, you will have your own compute. So when I say compute, I'm talking about your CPU, I'm talking about your memory, I'm talking about your and SAN, that storage area network, that's your storage device. I'm talking about your firewalls, I'm talking about the switches, all these devices you need to have it, because you need to have your own virtual network, you need to have your own compute and everything. All these devices are have their own. So this the box which you see, this is a data center. This data center will, it will have its own networking, it will have its own what else we need, power supply, and it will have its own these devices which we talked about. Now this is when you spend this much. So this is, I'm talking about in crores. Okay, it's not a small investment, guys. To just open a data center, it's not a anyone's cup of tea, guys. So it's, you need to have a big investment done in order to have such setup. Okay, wherein you will have all your things. So this is, suppose if you're in India, you have created your data center in Mumbai, and your office location is somewhere in Mumbai, so it works well, very well, because you will have your fiber cables and all which is connecting to your office location, so it works very well. What if you have your offices in Bangalore? What if you have your offices in US, in New York, and your data center is in Mumbai? Don't you think you will have latency issue plus connectivity issue? There are so many issues you'll start facing. So either do one thing, go and set up your own data center in US also, in New York also, set up it in Bangalore also, so that when you deploy an application, there's no latency. You can do it with ease. If you have that much money, then you can go and do it. So that is where these big players come in picture. These big players, Azure, AWS, GCP, they come in picture. What they do, the same data center, which is the example I gave you, they have such data centers at multiple locations. Suppose this is in Mumbai, this is in US, this is in Bangalore, this is in Australia, this is in Gulf. This way they have n number of data centers across the world, and they are very so within this region. Like suppose this is in India, they have data center. So in India they have three zones: zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and they are very highly tightly coupled with each other. So the communication between these data centers are very, like there's not at all even a millisecond latency. You'll not even come to know that your data is residing over here, and you're trying to, your database is over here, your application is installed over here, and you're trying to access your application. So within a millisecond of latency, you get your things up and running. So this is what cloud providers are, guys. They have already spent a lot. They have open data center in each part of the world, and they made sure not just one data center, they have created multiple zones over there. And what we do, And in order to access all this, what they have given a front end web servers. This is the place wherein through which you just go and start creating your resources. That is infra as a classic example of infra as a service. So now very minimalistic. You're not spending a lot. Now in past, if you go 10 years back, 15 years back, company used to spend a lot of amount setting up data centers, guys, acquiring hardware and setting up data centers. Now those times are gone. Not even a big companies, they don't even do any setup of their data centers. They simply go with cloud providers. In order to maintain resiliency, they go with couple of cloud providers. They will have application running on AWS, they will have application running on Azure, they will have application running on GCP. If AWS is down, they can serve it from Azure and they can serve it from GCP. So this is multi cloud platform, hybrid cloud platform, what they prefer nowadays. And there are big companies in which they still have their own data center, so they will have hybrid infra wherein they're using on-prem, they're using cloud also. But any new company, so this is, I'm talking about the one legacy company, they have their data center since very long. That is what they're using. They cannot just junk it because they made a good investment in those setting up those data centers, so they are managing somehow. Any new companies which is coming up, they will definitely not spend money on setting up their own data center. They will go with such cloud providers. Okay. Now these cloud provider, because there are benefits, guys. You have very easily accessible. You have to, you don't have to do a future forecast that how much resources is needed for my application to run. And using those forecasts, you don't have to go and buy those hardware, because if it's your own data center, you will go and buy those hardware, and you don't know whether your application is a successful application or whether it will shut down in next 6 months. But you have already spent crores in buying those hardware. In cloud, there's no such things. You can make use of pay as you go. You launch 10 VMs, run your application, and if there's a application is a failure, then you shut those VMs and you're done. If the application is a success, you can go and buy more VMs with cloud itself and run your application. So this becomes very cheap. Okay. Now, plus if you're using a cloud, they have their own resiliency. They got redundancy. They got backup facilities. They got high availability. So there are so many things they provide. So your application, you can make sure that your application will be up and running 99.99% because the underlying hardware is very much secured. And if anything happens to the hardware, they have got availability wherein it will easily switch to other location without even you come to know that your underlying hardware has failed and Microsoft has already shifted your application on some other hardware. You will not even come to know how quickly it happens. Okay. So again, when we move into this course, I'll talk about availability set, wherein we'll talk about what is availability zone, what is availability set, what is load balancing, what is VMSS, what is the storage redundancy, and all these topics, the advanced topic we'll talk about. But for that, you need to understand this basic concept, what exactly is cloud. Okay. Any doubt till here, guys? What is cloud? If no doubt, then we'll start with the first topic, that is virtual network. Anyone has any questions till here about
Hello.
what exactly? Yeah, tell
Hi,
me.
Mr. Rod. Hi, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Uh, you mentioned on the last slide, the platform, like platform as a service,
Hmm.
uh, inside the racks. Do they have like different applications on different virtual machines? For example, you mentioned one server would have platform as a service, and all the other infrastructure will be on another service. Is that possible, or?
I'm trying to understand like in one
Like
plat.
you know these circles you showed, the circle
Hmm.
cloud, yeah,
Hmm.
and then you had the platform as a service in one server.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is that how it is, or?
Okay, platform as a service. No, I'm trying to understand that you mean to say you want
Like
to
you know the
install multi.
SQL Azure, so yeah, storage. Would it be
Hmm.
saved in one server, or would it be saved in multiple different places? Your information.
Okay, you're talking about availability, storing things
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah,
multiple
yeah,
locations. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, that we talk about when we come to that topic like storage account. When you say
Okay,
redundancy, so just for your knowledge, no, when you store something on storage account that has multiple copies, what Microsoft creates. So basically, it creates three copies and they store it at multiple zone. Okay, so I
okay,
don't want to confuse people with talking about zone and all because we haven't touched that part. But just to answer your question, they create multiple copy by default and they keep a backup for yourself in
okay. Thank you,
PaaS like a
thank
service.
you, thank you.
No, but we'll talk about those. So very good important topic, guys. So again, this is a facility provided by Microsoft. We'll talk more about this when we talk about availability zone and availability set. At that time, people will understand how the backup gets created, how they make sure that your data are available even though one of the data center is down. So all this we'll talk about when we talk about redundancies. Okay, it's there in couple of sessions. We'll come to that part. No worries. Okay. Okay, where were we? Networking. Virtual networking. Same like, same like now when we say networking, okay, one more important part, guys.
Sorry,
In
I was unable to mute the my system till now. I have clear. I mean, what is the main difference between PaaS and IaaS in infrastructure? I don't see any differences, right? Just want to know about.
no, so main difference like infra as a service is nothing but when you talk about infra as a service, they are the provider who will be selling the infra to you. Like they will be selling the hardware part and everything to you. So basically, it's a model in which no, in infra as a service, it's a model wherein you can buy virtualized resources. When I say virtualized resources, I'm talking about VMs. You can directly buy VMs from them. You can buy servers from them. You can buy network from them. So this is what infra as a service. So on that infra which you have purchased from them, the servers which you have purchased, the server setup, like if you want to install a Java application on top of it, so you'll be setting up Java on top of it, you'll be installing Maven on top of it, and you will be installing the web server Tomcat on top of it. All this you will be setting up by yourself, you will be configuring it by yourself. Then once your VM is up ready with all this configuration, then you come and install your application. Now the application which you install, the application is up and running. Okay, so that is where the complete responsibility of setting up your application, your network, your patching, and everything was taken care by you. Microsoft is not even touching anything. Microsoft has given you the server. Microsoft is done. Microsoft task is done. Now all other things will be done by you. Now come to PaaS. Classic example is Azure Web App. Okay. Now in the web app you have the server. It's in the background, it's a server only, guys. Okay, it's a server. On top of the server, you will have Java pre-installed, you will have Tomcat pre-installed, you will have all the relevant component pre-installed, whatever is needed to deploy your Java application. The only thing you need to get is get a Java jar file, deploy it on the web server. Now what the complete infrastructure, the complete underlying resources is completely managed by Microsoft now. The only thing you do, what you're doing, getting your zip file, getting your jar file, deploying it on it, and your application is up and running with no time, no configuration needed. That is the major difference between a PaaS platform. So basically, platform as a service, it's a platform given to you. So basically, they gave you Java platform with Tomcat installed. Now on that platform, you just deploying your application. The other is infra. They give you the infra, the server. Now you need to set up the server first, then you install your application. Make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have one question. Means in the IISS, who has a responsibility of the hardware resource? Is it a Microsoft or it's by us?
Okay, hardware, whether you use SaaS, PaaS, or infra as a service, you'll not have access to the hardware.
Okay.
Hardware, if you see this, the bottom three line: physical host, physical network, physical data center. And if you see this color coding, this is light blue, and this is completely managed by Microsoft. Hardware, you'll not have access. On-prem, if your company is setting your own data center, so yeah, at that time you'll have access to your hardware. I was working with a company, a startup company, wherein we have purchased this data center rack, basically not the complete data center. We have purchased multiple racks, and so in the rack we had our own compute. So what used to happen, like if there's a memory shortage in that company, whenever we had a memory shortage, so what we used to do, we used to go and make a purchase with the company. We buy the memory, the company will come, the company will give us the memory, and the memory is later we go to the data center personally. Then I was not doing, because that's not my responsibility, but using, we open the rack by ourselves, we install the memory, we go and make changes to the front end, make sure the memory is available in the compute. Now this is the complete responsibility if you own a on-prem data center. Most of the company who says that we got our on-prem data center also, so basically they, the same way, they go to the third party vendors, wherein they have, who provides data center facility, and we, what we do, we go and just buy the rack, the box we buy from them. The box is nothing but inside the box you will be placing your compute. Okay, so that is what they do. They don't go and set up their own data center. So in most of the time, and there are companies available in the market who does all this, guys. Okay, so one classic example, I got an opportunity with one of the startup which I was working with. They had such facility, wherein I literally visited the data center. I've seen how things works. Okay, so this is very clumsy task. On-prem is very clumsy. There was situation wherein our Cisco firewall was down. Okay, and we had the other firewall which has some issues, because of which the network was completely down. Then we raised the ticket with Cisco. Cisco came up with a new device, then they installed it. So it's very time consuming, and it's not highly available. Okay, if you have on-prem, if you want to make it highly available, then you need to go and purchase multiple racks, multiple Cisco firewall, multiple networking, and all this you need to do it by yourself, and it's not cost effective. If some company spend a crores of rupees on such things, then only you get high available and all this, wherein in cloud services nowadays, with the click you get high availability. That easy it is nowadays. Okay, makes sense, guys? Any other question regarding this model? Okay, let's go and talk about the first topic in Azure cloud is networking, virtual networking. Before I jump and start talking about networking, I need to give you basic understanding what exactly is networking. Okay, so in this networking we'll understand what is subnetting, public IP range, all this I'll explain you in the very layman term, guys. I know we are not from the networking background. I'm not expecting you guys to know all the subnet masking and everything. No, that's not needed. But basic networking knowledge is needed, because when you use infra as a service, you'll be setting up networking also by yourself. You'll be assigning IPs by yourself. So you should know how those things are done. So only basic understanding of networking will look, and we'll see what is subnetting, how the IP is divided, how a bigger broadcast network is divided into smaller networking. So that is what we'll see. Okay, but before that, let's understand how a network flow in your home will work. Like suppose if you have a CPU in your home, you got a CPU. Okay, how your CPU gets network? A typical example will be, you will have some modem, correct? You will have your modem, and your modem will be attached to somewhere over here to a NIC card. What is NIC? NIC is nothing but using which you'll be attaching your modem. Network interface card, NIC. I'm talking about your home network. Just imagine you have your PC in your home, and your PC is connected with a LAN cable. Your PC is connected with a LAN cable, and this is how it is connected. Then you get internet on your computer, correct? So what exactly this is? This is the NIC card. This NIC card is connected with a LAN cable, and this is nothing but a modem. Modem is what? Modem is nothing but the one who is transforming the network, demodularizing your network, whatever you're receiving. Now this is how you're getting your computer is getting internet. Now this device, this modem is again connected with a wire. With a wire, it is connected to a wireless device. This is your router. Now using this router, you have other devices connected, such as your laptop, your phone, your TV. Nowadays we have smart TV. All these are connected using this wireless device. Nowadays you will not see a modem separate, guys. Nowadays if you see the modem, and it's a two-in-one device which you get mostly, wherein you have your wireless. It works as a wireless also, and it works as a modem also. Okay. Now this is how your home network will work. And from this modem, again there is a wire going in somewhere out. Like if you live in a building, like suppose you are on a sixth floor, so there is a wire which goes on the outside your home, and it connects over there to a switch. It connects to a switch, and using this switch there are cables going on which connects to other houses. So on your floor, suppose there are 4 houses, so you will have one switch on your floor, and using that switch you will have connection given to all the 4 houses. This is how a complete LAN area network gets set up. This is called as LAN area network. Same you can, once LAN is done, you will have wide area network. This is how the complete connectivity happens, not just in house, even in cloud. Even in your offices, guys. They will have modem, they will have switches, they will have router, then all this they will have. So this is how the placement will happen. Very simple placement. Your NIC card is receiving the internet. Through this NIC card, you're going to internet, you're accessing internet. And because of this NIC, and this comes from the modem and LAN card, this modem connects to the wireless device. This wireless device connects to all your other resources in your house. Then from this LAN, it goes to switches, and this from switches it connects to the other houses, and then to your community, to your area. This is how the network gets divided. Now, how you go to internet? The connection, when you connect to your modem, it assigns a public IP. If you want to access internet within the network, within the house, if you want to access your devices, that can be accessible using private IP. But if you want to connect to internet, like suppose I'm connecting to internet, I am on internet right now, so that means I should have my system should have a public IP. Yeah, definitely my system should have a public IP, but that is not fixed. The public IP which I get using this, so this public IP is provided by ISP. ISP is nothing but internet service providers. In my area, we got Geo Fiber right now. So Geo is my internet service provider. So they are giving me the public IP, and using that public IP, I'm able to connect to internet. If you want to check what's your public IP, so just go to this website and just do what'smyip.com. When you go to this website, you will see your public IP. See this IPv6. This is my public IP, guys. This is IPv6, IP version 6. So that is the reason this is my public IP. This is a dynamic allocated public IP. If you want static IP, like if you say, no, I want static IP, I don't want the IP to change, then you need to go and purchase it from ISP. Static IP is not free. You have to go and purchase it from your service provider. Okay, so remember this concept, why exactly I'm teaching, because when we start with virtual networking, we need this NIC card to be attached, we need the public IP, and all this we need. Okay, so this is how your home network works. Keeping this in mind, how your virtual network will work now? Very similar. In virtual network, in cloud world, you need to create your own networking. You will have your own virtual network created. You will have your own subnet created inside your virtual network. What exactly is subnetting? Okay, so you will have your own virtual network. You will have your own subnet. Subnet is nothing but, guys, it's a practice of dividing a large network into smaller networks. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let's imagine you have a virtual network range, IP range of something called 10.0.0.0/16. So I'm talking about quite a big network right now. So this network, this is nothing but, if you go and open a network calculator, this will come across 65,000 plus IP addresses I'm talking about. If you have such, how this is divided, let me go and open a IP calculator. Very simple, just go and open any IP calculator, open any subnet range. No, this one, go to Google and just open anything. Now this is what my address was. So I was doing something like this, correct? 10.0.0.0, and over here I did /16, correct? If I calculate, do you see the number of IPs, private IPs we can allow is 65,534. If I have this IP, this is the IP which will give to the virtual network. This is my private IP, guys, not public IP. This is a private IP. Now this is a quite a big IP. So each device, so if you go back to the home network example which I just gave you, I missed one thing. Each device, whether it's your NIC card, whether it's your modem, whether it's your wireless device, whether it's a switches, each device will have a IP allocated to it, a private IP allocated to it. Okay, without a private IP, there will no be, there won't be any communication happening. Keep that in mind. Each device will have a private IP allocated to the devices. Using that private IP, only the communication happens within them. Okay, keep that in mind. So from where the private IP is getting assigned, that is automatically assigned by the ISP guys. They have created something like this virtual network. They have allocated such IPs. From this range, they have allocated the IPs. Okay. Now this is a quite a big range. Let me just remove this. Wait. Let me remove the subnet for now. This is what's the range we're talking about. This is a quite a big range. Now inside this virtual network, you will have your devices. You will have your VM. You will have your database. You will have your storage. You will have your network firewall, router. All these are the devices which you will have, and each device will get its own private IP. It will have its own private IP. From which range it will get? You'll get the IPs from this range. Like for example, you will be assigning this database IP something like this: 10.0.1.0.1.0/24. Something like this you'll be assigning. Don't worry about what this 16, 18 and all, guys. I'll explain you what exactly is that. For now, just understand this. This is how IP will be allocated to each devices which is there inside your virtual network. Similarly, each VM will have its own private IP. Your firewall will have its own private IP. Your load balancer will have its own private IP, and this is how your virtual network will be dividing the things. Now the problem is, it's a quite a big range, and if you keep it this way, then it becomes very difficult to manage things. Plus, it becomes very difficult to segregate things like what is a particular range of IP will be allocated to which VM. So all this segregation management becomes very difficult, and plus you're wasting a lot of IP over here. Using this way, you're wasting a lot of IPs over here. So what is the solution for this? The solution is we break this big IP range into small. We break this complete IP range into small ranges. Now what we do? We start creating subnet. So subnet is a practice of dividing a network into similar networks. So why do we do subnetting? It increases routing efficiency, enhances the security, very important. And the second important, it reduces the size of your broadcast domain. This is a quite a big size. I can divide this into small sizes, such as I can have something like this 10.0.1.0/24. This is I'm talking about 255 IPs now. If you go and calculate this IP now, it's around 255 IPs. Same goes over here. I can have something like 10.0.2.0/24. So we divided in this big network. We divided this big network into two small networks now. Now in this subnet, I can go and start installing my VMs. So firstly, security. Like suppose if there is a hacker coming in, if he gain access to this network of yours and he gains access to this subnet, but this particular thing is still secure. He doesn't have access to this particular. So this is how your front end and back end services will be installed. So your application, your front end application will be running in this, and your backend database will be kept over here. Your front end front end application will have a public IP because you need to go to internet using this front end. Your backend will be in the backend. So all the communication will happen only through this subnet over the private IP address. So it will also enhance your network security if you use subnetting. We'll talk about subnet again tomorrow. We'll talk about how this masking happens. What is this 24? What is this 16? And all this we'll talk about tomorrow. But if you want to calculate this IP range, just go and calculate this IP range 10.0.1.0/24. See, 254 IPs. This is how you divide a bigger network into smaller network using subnetting. Okay. So I think that's it for me today, guys. We haven't done any practical today. It's all theory. This theory is also very important because you need to understand this basic concept before you go and create your own network, create your own subnet, start adding routings to it, start adding firewalls to it, start adding load balancer to it. You need to know how this IP things work. Okay, I cannot directly show, I cannot just directly jump on and start creating virtual network for you guys, because if I do it, I know half of the people will not understand anything. So such basic understanding is needed. Keeping this basic in mind, we'll start practicals tomorrow and we'll create this virtual network by ourselves. This complete range we'll create this subnet, and we'll have a VMs created inside that subnet. That is something we'll see it. Okay, so that's it for me. So I'm open for questions, guys. If you have any questions related to the topic which we did today, or any topic related to the demo and anything, so please do let me know. Open up if you have any doubt, any questions. Okay, let's see if anyone has any doubt, guys. Let me see any chat. Nothing. Okay, Anyone?
Hello, hi, sir.
Yeah,
Uh, I just wanted to ask. You mentioned each in the last slide, each device would have a private IP, right?
correct.
Which devices would also have public IP? Thank you again.
Okay, so this question you need to ask yourself, which device you want to connect to internet. Like, why do we need public IP? Firstly, well, public IP is needed when you want to connect your devices to internet. Now, I will need a public IP assigned to my VM. Why do I need a VM public IP? Because this VM will connect, this VM is hosting my application, and my application will be accessible from internet. People across the world will access my application. So my VM will need a public IP, guys. Okay. So your VM needs a public IP. Your load balancer will need a public IP, and any devices which will have connection over the internet, it will be connecting to the internet, people will be connecting to that device to from the internet, that will need a public IP. Without a public IP you cannot go on the internet, as simple as that. Public IP is, it's your address through which your internet communication happens. So any device which connects to internet will need a public IP.
Thank you, sir.
No problem, no problem. Anyone else?
Yeah, may I know how to virtual machine backup and restore and virtual machine skill sets.
Yeah, that is,
May I
we
know
have it.
what is a virtual machine in Azure cloud?
Okay, so this is something we'll start this topic. We have a complete 4-5 sessions on just virtual machine, understanding what is a virtual machine skill set and things like that. So just in a simple, virtual machine is nothing but a server provided to you. It could be a Windows server or Linux server that which is provided by Microsoft. You can simply use that server and you can start doing whatever you want. Like, you want to install your application, you want to deploy your database, and if you want to do whatever you want on your server. So virtual machine is nothing but it's a compute provided by the cloud provider. When I say compute, I'm talking about CPU, I'm talking about memory, I'm talking about storage. On top of it, you can have your OS installed on top of it. So that is what virtual machine is all about. Virtual machine skill set, it's a different concept. This is, to understand what exactly is virtual machine skill set, we need to understand some basic concept of availability zone and availability sets. That is something we will do in couple of days. Don't worry, I got everything covered, guys. So this is the place wherein we'll talk about Azure availability and resiliency. In this, we'll cover all this topic which is related to how highly available you can make your VMs highly available, how you can make your things highly resilient using availability zone, availability set, virtual machine skill set, load balancer, storage account, Azure site recovery. When I talk about Azure site recovery over here, I'll talk about how do we take backups, how do we uh, do DR setup, disaster recovery setup, and all. This is something we'll talk about. So don't worry, guys. All these are covered. All your topics are covered, but we cannot directly jump on to virtual machine skill set. We'll be slowly and steadily we'll building the blocks and we'll come to the advanced topics. Don't worry. Okay, make sense? Sunil, I think Sunil it
Okay,
was
okay.
correct.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
Any, no problem. Anyone else, guys? Any other question?
Hey, hi, Rohit. Good morning.
Yeah,
Uh,
Kuldeep.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me thank you for all your videos on YouTube. Actually, I used to watch your videos. Again, I'm just curious that which pipeline tool you will be covering in this course
Okay.
for
So
CI/CD
pipeline.
pipeline.
Yeah. So we'll be doing Azure DevOps. So, but as I again said in my demo, pipeline doesn't matter, Kuldeep. If you know the flow,
Actually, I missed your demo, so
yeah,
I
no
just
problem.
gone through the course
Yeah,
content,
anyone who
so I
has
could not.
missed the demo, please reach out to Valaxy team and they will provide you with the demo video and you can go through it again. And yeah, Kuldeep, answering to your question, Azure DevOps. We'll be using Azure DevOps for creating your build and release pipelines in this course. Okay.
So Azure DevOps, so itself is a tool.
Yeah, Azure DevOps
Like we
is,
heard about like Jenkins, how it works. So I thought ki there would be the different tool provided by Azure.
yeah, so Azure DevOps, it's a tool, and Jenkins is just a integration tool. Azure DevOps is
Okay.
quite big. When you talk about Azure DevOps, it's very big. Not just build and release, it has artifact management, it has repository management, and it has your connectivity. You can connect to many other tools. So this is what how Azure DevOps looks like. This is how it looks like. This is Azure DevOps, guys. All your pipelines and everything will be created in this. And if you know this, so this is from my previous batch, the batch number 3, which I did with Valaxy. This is from my previous batch. So this is how your pipelines will be created in Azure. Okay. And if you know the flow, see, I'm talking about Java. So if you know this, how the build happens in Java, the same thing you can replicate. So this is where we have integrated SonarQube in my previous batch, and we have Jacoco also, the code coverage and everything what we did. So if you know this flow, you can easily do it on Jenkins also. The only thing is the tool is different, but the way of doing will be the exact same. Whatever you do over here, the same thing you have to do it with all other tools, whether it's Jenkins, whether it's GitLab, Octopus, and any other tool, whatever you name it. Okay. So Azure DevOps is the tool which we will be using it, guys. Any other question? I hope that answers your question, Kuldeep.
Yeah. Thanks, Rohit. Got it.
No problem. Anyone else, guys? Will the coursework advance? Will the coursework advance quickly? Advance quickly, John? Yes, definitely. Okay, I don't. Basic is initially I'll have couple of days basic. Now, if you take an example of virtual network, this was the only session which will have basic. Tomorrow I'll have start creating virtual network. I'll start adding subnet. I'll start talking about NSGs. I'll start talking about ASGs. I'll start talking about VNet pairing, and also basic one or day, couple of days, just to make everyone feel familiar and make them more comfortable. I start with basic, but eventually we jump on to advanced topics, and not just advanced, we start doing things practical and start building the blocks one at a time, so that everyone is on the same page. And I don't try to rush things because I know there are many people who have no, they have not been on cloud. There are many people who are already have expertise on cloud, but we have to I have to cater everyone needs. So from basic, eventually we'll reach out to the advanced topic, but not at very slow rate or not at very fast rate. But yeah, we'll keep the medium pace, making sure everyone is comfortable. Okay, John. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, we do have homeworks. Yes, not homeworks, I will say, assignments, I will say. Yeah, we do have weekly assignments, guys. So I'll be sharing those assignments. You just have to go through it and complete those assignments and come back. And if there's any doubt, then we can have a doubt solving sessions also, wherein if you're not able to do that assignment will not be that difficult. Whatever practical I do, the assignment will be based on those practicals. Even though if you guys are not able to do it, come back, we'll have a doubt solving session on that. Each day, no, I'll have an assignment weekly. 5 days session, I'll give the assignment on the 5th day, and you guys can go and complete it. Yes, it's all recorded, and it's kept in a highly secure location, and you will give you will be given the access. You just have to go and access it. Yeah, I think it's already 8:15, guys. Thank you very much. And if there's any other question, we will have a WhatsApp community. You can put your questions in it. Yeah, tell me.
The
I think
document
someone.
we are taking, yeah, the document to register
Yeah,
the Azure portal. Yeah.
yeah, yes. This will be shared. I'll be sharing this with my Valaxy team. They will uploading on the portal, and from there you can access it. Okay, no worries.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Let's meet up tomorrow and let's start doing virtual network practicals. Bye bye.